Episode 10. Welcome back to another episode at Consciously Evolving Enterprises. As always, I am your host, Mr. Ryan Dillon Brassington. A quick introduction. Okay, so this is a series of true short stories where we have been exploring the scary paranormal happenings caused by unfortunate domestic events in the family home. These are all freaky stories of survival in a domestic violent haunted home, from the memories of people that with lived experiences and have been kind enough to share their events and stories with us. Some seeking to find a common connection to verify the truth, others tell their truth to find healing, to heal that inner child and reconcile with a past long avoided, push away and shut down. With true tales they open the door where shadows linger in nightmares, memories, fragmented memories of a former life lived as a child, and the real life monsters are the parents we are meant to love in that family home. Jet Grady, 2001. A story my father told me from his deathbed. With a promise to one day return to Cherry Tree Hill, my father once again telling the story, but this time would be the final time it was told, calling out to Jet at his bedside. I have a story to tell you, a story from your dying father, Martin states as he rises a bong to his mouth and lights the cone piece up, sucking down with force yet another bong, and as always followed by a continued coughing. Here we go, on and on cough. Go. Clearing his lungs ready to suck down the next bottle filled with marijuana smoke. Martin blinking and widening his eyes to focus on Jet. Leaning forward in preparation for the story, he picks up the cups of water with frailty, each movement filled with pains, screaming out from internal torment in the dead night hour. With a sip of the water quenching his thirst, he places the cup beside him. Martin tells a story with a husky dry voice and fading memory of a man on his deathbed. A story from my youth, a place I live a long time ago. Have you heard of a place called Bathurst? Jet replies in a dismissive tone, Yes, Dad, I have. Yeah. With a smoke and a cough, Martin continues on. On a property in Cherry Tree Hill, we broke in and stole things we shouldn't have. The house was haunted, to say it best. Myself, I think it was alive. It's where I found these old dolls that are in the bottom of the wardrobe. They have been there for years, freaky little things, Martin states with caution in his voice. Jet peeks up with interest. Jet states out loud, Oh really, that's awesome. Lunging down another cone again followed with a cough. Martin clears his throat and wets his lips again with a glass of water beside the bed. Then Martin continues the story by saying, My friends and I were just mucking about when we came across the abandoned house, out in the sticks, a fence surrounding it, the land inside unattended, but yet nothing seemed to be growing. Like autumn but it was summer, the property was screaming death. But being young we were oblivious and daring each other on further and further, until we were at the veranda, our legs shake standing at the bottom of the stairs looking up at weather-rotten front door. From the outside the house decrepit, the roof sunken, cover in dead foliage, the rusting water gutters matching the condition the rest of the house, falling apart and old, still a massive structure for us to explore. We just to get through the entryway behind us we looked and we were far from any help, miles from anyone, truly we were out in the middle of nowhere, so daring each other through. My friends Jim and Chris fumble forward bursting through the dusty and rusted door, with force the door slams open, cough and then cough. We all stand, our hearts are bounding, thud. We look around in the darkness off the massive open space and we get to our feet and realize we are safe. Looking around to see all this space to explore. Cough, Martin continues. So, as spread apart and begin to explore, as first glance something was off, strange. We quickly come back together and compared that strange feeling creeping over our shoulders, like someone was watching us but we couldn't see them, not only that it seemed everything was in its place, like this place has never been ransacked or even found before, we aim our touches together. Scanning the surroundings, at first the entry that looks up to a large staircase covered in red carpet and sided by wooded rails polished, it looked like it was dusted yesterday, the coat rack sat a dusted jacket and rusted brim hat. Looking around the damage didn't affect the inside or its contents, so naturally we go and look around. Moving on to the dining room, the chandelier sways with slight motion, it would be unnoticeable if you weren't watching it happen. We all started to sweat, griping each other by the available material. We're thinking shit, this is only room 2, what else is to come? Cough, Martin continues. It was about then we noticed we could hear anything outside, no bats or owls, crickets or cicadas, even the sound of the wind had fallen silent. Now we are shit sacred. Cough. Bomb cough, Martin clears his throat and continues his story. However, we persist and continue through the dark house with our touches leading the way, gather side by side, confirming between ourselves, surely we're safe, right? Asking each, nothing care hurt us, right? I think we were trying to convince ourselves that it was safe to go forward, even though we all wanted to run out. Cough, Martin continues with Jet listening intently. I look at the table and it's still set with cutlery, plates and glasses, like someone is about to bring out dinner but the lights went off. We step into the kitchen and quickly make our way through in the dark just to stay alive. If a knife came at us we were out, we all agreed as we paced out of the kitchen and into the living room. Again every in its place undisturbed for God knows how long. The record player was defiantly antique as it all did to me, but everything was preserved. The furniture seemed nearly new in its condition, timeless to suit the dwelling, with downstairs being explored. We then made our way upstairs. Once at the top we each went to a different room to discover treasures, gold, jewels, watches. However there was nothing of the sort, only a few sacred items that my friends and were foolish to take without consent, without permission. My unwillful hoard still lays at the bottom of the wardrobe at our family home. You don't understand, I went into what was a child's bedroom, pink walls, bed, all that, but on the bed were toy dolls. I wasn't even thinking when I picked them up, both in my hands, looking in fascination. Boom, the house shook like cannonball was striking it down. Boom, we all came running, meeting at the top of the stairs. I looked down to see in Jim's hand 3 small journal-like books and Chris was hold 1 golden bracelet. Boom, the house shook again. The next thing I knew we were outside back in the forest, in the shrubs, panting, gasping for breath. I looked to my hands and I'm still holding the 2 dolls. As were my friends still holding their stolen possessions. We all agreed that if we left then here we would be haunted and cursed, so it was better to keep these things safe. That was until we returned. However we did try once after that but ran out of sunlight. Then I moved away and we never found or were able to visit the house again. It seemed to have just disappeared for vision. The house we swear was hidden deep in the Bathurst forest. When death came for the Martin I seen it and it seen me, frozen in moment. It was like my brain stepped into a dream. The sensors flatlined and the walls turned black. All light in the room was absorbed by an incoming force. All surroundings lose a sense of color, structure and turn into static shapes flickering in the darkness. Outlined furnitures, the bed in gray and white. A shape darker than the shaded room begins to form above my father's bedhead. It was like looking at a shadow in a room. With no light or shape to cast it, I could see an outline moving forward, a head, shoulders, then big black wings follow it through the wall as this being then stands up reaching 7 foot tall. My eyes couldn't focus, my mouth couldn't form words. My body wouldn't move as I have the sense to run away screaming and catch the first nurse I see and start crying for help, but I could do no of these, frozen, staring into a darkness and see one soul come to take another. And as this happened I seen death take my father. As shimmer of light in the darkness left that hospital bed and was being led into the afterlife, I mustered up one word, bursting from a force silenced. I screamed no. I see the shimmer stop as if to look back. However I did not see the shimmering soul of my father turn to say goodbye. Rather the sense of curiosity from the dark entity that led him away, an overwhelming sensation. Death just stopped to look back at the child to question how this small being broke the boundaries of realities and no only to be seen but to be heard. If only just one word. Death had never been stopped or interrupted. No one ever gained his attention. And so I believe death has been stalking me, watching from the shadows between collecting souls. I believe death was out to get me and succeeded several times to only release me without reason. It was not yet my time. Despite death's curiosity and desperation for company, a child used in limbo, caught in purgatory, forced into a coma-like state, death took every opportunity to ensure we could communicate, a clumsy child used as excuses for death to converse on its eternal plane. Our childhood adventures were not for the faint-hearted. Our adventures took us far and wide, over hills and under tunnels, bike rides into the endless days of childhood summer holidays, each year having the time of our lives, and things couldn't get better. However they could get worse, and losing my father Martin this year caused a calamity of events, one horrific incident after. These summer holidays would be one to remember, having one near-death experience after the other. The first was falling out from the door. There were no seat belts built in back then. I remember my uncle takes me for a ride after a long-awaited fix. I got in, speeding up. I stick my head outside the window, but I slide straight out, the door wide open. Without realizing he turns and accelerates, giving it throttle through the corner. My body hints the black tarred gravel, sliding face first. The road like sandpaper wears away my skin from head to shine, exposed bone. My uncle says he stopped, sticks it in reverse, then he scoops me up, throwing me back into the passenger side, expecting to go to hospital, but we didn't. Where did we go? Not hospital, no, we go to good old Dr. Lee. The next time death came to visit was down at the slime time. A sharp shard of glass cleanly cuts my wrist. I remember something sharp swipe past, and when I looked, one big open gash. I swear I could see bone. I held it tight, squeezing, running as fast as I could home. 5 stitches and shots of penicillin from our favorite doctor, Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, whom we visited many times for many stitches over many years, so, thank you Dr. Lee for keeping me together. I'd think I'd look like a rag doll if it was any other doctor. swinging on the flying fox with my sinister sister. My sister and I finally arrived to newly opened Play Park, traveling from St. Mary's to Enfield Park, an hour or so away, but for us kids it was forever, so the kids wanted to leave instantly after the car arrived. Full of expectation and anticipation once arriving, we were stopped and told to wait. In the glazing heat just outside the park, we waited to meet up with lost family members traveling in from different areas. All us children were itching with eagerness run off and explore the entire park, still waiting for the adults to unpack, match up siblings to take of each other. We then took off, running about and exploring, finding all new hiding holes, using the moving parts and climbing the wooden bridges. We loved the fire poles and rope nets. Even better, the awesome little cubby houses and corners like forts under our command, and below a play area of little cafes and fake shopping market made as a maze. To the left the tallest swings and to the right the longest slides, that curved and weaved between each other. The flying fox at the top of the hill was over 30 meters long, fast and super cool. We were very impressed with the new park. My sister invites me to hold to her and ride on the flying fox. Fat ass sister lands on top of me after holding her hips to glide along, I'm sure with purpose. My sister loses grip and falls off, landing on me underneath, her fat ass crushing my chest. The air forced out of my lunges, unable to breath, in or out. I hold my chest in pain and panic, gasping twice and falling unconscious. I blacked out with her fat ass claiming the triumph of the knockout, unable to breath. The black abyss rolled over and covers my eyes. A cold rush tingles from head to toe as I remember my mouth trying to breath. The panic stopped and all fell black and silent. The sudden emergence of colorful gases similar to cosmic star dust sparks and spreads behind the eyelids of the unconscious. Death was not to come yet. Light brighter than the sun itself shines into those same closed eyes, the light so bright that you must open your eyes to escape and awake back to this life's reality. Trapped in a car with my sister during the summer heat. Trapped in a car with my sister in the summer heat, a form of punishment from my drug-addicted mother, heat stroke and near death. A violent outburst caused a fight between my sister and I. Shortly after, I remember punching her face and a tooth falling out. She later thanked me and said a tooth is nothing to sacrifice when you're facing death. Cooking a 60-degree car under the summer sun of Australian suburbia. Okay, she didn't word it as well, but she did thank me for survival, even if it was by knocking her tooth out, which she had once already caused herself by rolling a large green white across her chest and losing control to bang her mouth and smash out one of her two front teeth. Shortly after getting it fixed, we were put in this situation, and we all know kids in hot cars die, and my sister and I were ready to kill each other, with our heated brains cooking under the metal and the lack of air. With the windows closed, we were ready to kill. Unbridled rage, siblings saved by their fighting when teeth were lost in a fisticuff battle, seeking help from adults, yelling out through closed glass. My sister holds up her dislodged tooth as evidence that we needed help. Finally we were realized in days after the tooth refixed. Falling from the world's best tree house. Over the summer my dad and I had begun building the world's best tree house. My father was a tradesman at heart but never had any formal qualifications, just imagination. Some of the best memories were forged in its construction. After driving around for many weeks and collecting lots of recycled material, to build a massive tree house around the tree in the backyard, I had thought up all the excuses I could use to make an invitation to Wendy to come over and see me in my own private palace. The treehouse is finally finished, perfect, with 2 levels and fully tinned roof. After the family barbecue and drunken opening ceremony, I now had my opportunity to invite Wendy up and into the treehouse, so I built up the guts and asked. She eagerly agrees and we make our way up the treehouse ladder. Coming onto the first level, she seen I had couches, carpet, even an existing fire pole and pigeonholes for gadgets and gizmos. Looking up the massive tree, she sees the large trunk has plants leading to the rooftop. As I go to lead her further up, taking one step onto the ladder, Wendy pulls me back and straight into her face. She tilts her head and breaths on my neck. In one monition, she pins me up against the tree with nowhere to go. Her strawberry blonde hair flicks to one side. She looks me in the eyes and smiles, leaving her hand pressed hard against my chest. She lowers her body, looking in one direction down, dropping to her knees. Her other hand rubs my inner leg up to where she cups my penis softly. Now leaning in with her face, she looks up. Her chin rubs my throbbing erection as she strokes the shaft with her cheek on the outside of my clothes. She asks simply, please, looking up, grabbing the top of my pants line. I'm frozen with fear at the time. Paused like I'm having a stroke. This is the best thing ever and the scariest thing I've ever done. My hands in the air. As she lowers my pants a little bit more, I'm now just exposed, as gentle as a butterfly. Her lips softly touch smooth over my knob with a big kiss. She looks up, her tongue peeks out from between her lips as she pulls my pants even lower. The tip of her tongue touches and leads the pants line further down, relieving everything. She gets even more excited, expressing it with a giggle and a wiggle. with one hand swiftly grabbing the top half of my penis, the other hand ensuring the pants hit the ground. Coming further in, her lips wrap around my shaft with a kiss. Her moist lips slowly lead her eyes back up the shaft to tickle with the tongue, slowly raising her head. She's making eye connection, her strawberry blonde hair, cute cheeky smile, a picture-perfect moment. But when she leant back in, I freaked out. I don't know why or what happened. I just jumped up ladder on the trunk of the tree, scurried up and out the top as quick as I could. It lead to the top of the tree house where you could oversee the entire street. Climbing my way up the trunk, then onto the roof, I slowly made my way across, felling the strength of the beam below, the roof itself only made of thin aluminum tin. Without hesitation, I make my way to the edge. Wendy pops her head up through the roof's hole. She started to make wanting to finish, catch and kiss again, so I'm standing on the edge of the thin tin, flexing my muscles, showing off to the world below. I look around at the view thinking this is great, telling Wendy, look how high I am. So I turn to the street and flex all the muscles in my body, like I'm the Hulk, and as loud as I can I sing out to my followers below. Look at me, I'm the king of the castle. The weight is taken from under my legs. I gasp in despair, losing my breath and my lungs empty of air as felt myself falling. The tin had broken away from under my feet as I fall, my eyes to connect to Wendy's, whom is still partly climbing the tree to get onto the roof, the shock of horror on her face as I disappear through the front part of the tinned roof, eyes as wide as dishes. There was nothing she could do, it was late. ID already fell. The ground was raising up fast as I braced for the hearty impact of the dusty ground below. Before my body made the horizontal impact, I felt a tight pull around my waist, like a hand had reached out and grabbed me. Bracing for moments, I looked down to see my undies strapped to the tree branch and taken the force out of the impact before I landed. As my body hit the ground below, I remember then looking down at my left hip because I could feel an intense pressure pointing into my flesh. It felt like my skin had been stabbed by the dusty floor below. I looked down to a T-bone the dog had chewed, done into a shape-pointed bone. I remember pulling the bone away from my unbroken flesh and seeing where its point had almost broken through the skin and pierced my guts. Before I inhaled one last deep breath before everything went black and I passed out. Rock fight rock at the BMX bike track. Rock fight rock at the BMX bike track that resulted in a rock connecting to the center of my forehead. Watching the rock fall from the heavens, thinking, that's a good throw, the rock growing larger as it drew closer. The gray gravel jagged stone fell with the speed of gravity. As I'm looking at it, I'm reminded of a meteor falling from outer space. I stood staring at the awesomeness of the incoming rock in wonder of it coming from such a distance. Kish boom smack bag splatter. The rock making direct impact to the center of my forehead, instantly seeing darkness, my body falling to the ground like a limp doll. To me it was a spontaneously knocked out, a quick cold rush of blood to darkness. Others seen the impact coming, helpless to stop, or suddenly surprised, the rock hitting my forehead with force. The rock smashed into my face with such force it folded my body in half. When the rock hit, the force to my forehead pushed my head back, whipping it backwards towards the dirt. Within a second, it all happened. The loud thud got everyone's attention as they looked to see my head wrenched back, whipping my legs out from under me as I'm folded in half, my spine bending back until the force flicked me to the ground with my legs being the last to land. Witnesses look over to see me, a 7-year-old child, laying with a massive gash leaking blood from his face. The split in the center of my head was gory, the blood pulsating out with every heart-throbbing beat. Nobody knew what to do with the child. Gushing blood poured from his head. Apparently my father came out from nowhere, saying, move aside, I'm here for my unconscious child," scooping me up, a father in rescue mode. A few stitchers to put me back together, inserted by the fantastic Dr. Liho. Like magic, presto, I was fixed and ready to go again. More summer days at the BMX track. The first on the street made house was made of bricks. Luckily it was. Because the pricks that lived there would have burnt it down, the family of mongrels and rat bags, rule-less kids with careless parents more absent present. The boys that lived there were thought to be responsible for much of the neighborhood break-ins. One time we went to investigate loud banging noises like explosions coming from their house. We pop our heads just above and over the fence. The 3 ratbag boys were throwing spray cans into the homemade fire pit. Kaboom. They see our heads sticking over the fence and then invite us in, wanting us to witness the almighty booms, so we jump the fence, my best friends, my sister and I. We stand and witness and listen closely in silence, listening to a fizz, the gas leaking from the spray can. The pressure builds up, then, boom. Fireball shoots up into the air. The can exploded. As the explosion takes to the sky, the spray can had split, releasing the gas, and something whizzed past me faster than a speeding bullet. Through the chipboard wood board, through an old cupboard door, past one of the boys hiding behind that same wardrobe door, then through the lower glass panel of the laundry window, looking exactly like a bullet hole straight through the window. Realizing that the ball bearing in the can, a small metal ball to help shake and stir the paint in the can, had come pretty close and almost hit me, we come to quickly conclude that the boys had put me in that position purposefully. I looked at my sister and my friend and said, "We've got to leave now before another one explodes." We begin to run in the panic and another explosion goes. Boom. Scurrying away, I slip, falling trying to hurry in my escape as we gain our feet in dust and dirt. One of the little brothers, the little fucker, ripped the hat of my head, my favorite hat. My uncle gave me that hat. He is a famous fisherman who gave me this trucker hat. It was very important and very cool. He ripped the hat off my head, then threw it over his next-door neighbor's fence. Natasha Nicholas waited out front in fear. I decided I would creep over the fence as slowly as I could to retrieve my hat. I put my head over the fence and see it's there. I can see it, so close, I up and over within a second. Just as I creep over ever so slowly and softly, the ratbag kids yells calling for the dog. It rushes me. Now I'm trying to avoid to get bitten, then. Boom. Another explosion. The dog takes grip of my leg, biting down tight, clutching down hard, violently shaking my leg, shaking it like it was a sausage on the rope. Boom. Another explosion. The dog loosens its grip. A chance to go. I hurry back over, heart beating, frightened. Now on the other side I had my hat in my hand, but then had a look down at my leg. Holy shit, I can see blood and flesh. I've been mauled, blood gushing everywhere. I remember all I could do was call for help. 17 stitches, 1 tetanus shot and a lot of numbing shots in between. The little bastards, I'll never forget them being so mean. Weeks later, that same nasty vicious dog accidentally hung itself over the fence, trying to jump over whilst on the lead attached to under the cola. He got over the fence, but then it hung there because the rope tightened and there was not enough slack between the fence and the floor. The rope slipped between the palings and the poor thing could breathe no more. I told my father and he fell over in laughter. On a government-funded camp. On a government-funded camp for stray teenagers, we were in the rock climbing room on one on the rainy days, and somehow including the young instructor we had started a game of gaming off the railing and being caught before we hit the bottom. As we got more daring and closer to the ground, I decided I would try the jump backwards. Being young, dumb and full of confidence, I leaped from the railing with the guide dude at the end of the rope ready to pull. When I got too close, falling to a snap. Whip, I hear the group gasp one ho, ah, as my head fell back. It whipped inches from the concrete floor. A scene reminiscent of Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man, coming out in cinemas years later. A gun held to my forehead and the trigger pulled. My 12 years of life flashed before my eyes and nothing was the same after that. Maybe I died and this is everything that happens in the afterlife. A gun to the face, trigger pulled. During my mother's time of desperation, she got to know some desperate characters. A drug-filed mess of a broken-hearted women, defeated. All that gave her grace was that sweet taste of methamphetamines. Sitting at the kitchen table eating Cocoa Pops and watching cartoons from the dining room, a Islander man walks in without introduction, stops, looks at me and asks, "Where's V, my mother?" I reply, "She's in the shower." Looking down to his right hand, I see a silver shinning handgun. Sheepishly I asked, "Is that real?" The Islander guy walks to me without hesitation, taking 2 strides in my direction, whipping the gun to the center of my forehead and pulling the trigger. A cold gust of compressed air shot into my forehead and for a second I thought I was dead. Then I blinked, laughed in panic response, and ran quickly to my mother in the bathroom screaming, "There's a man with a gun and he just shot me in the head, Mom." I thought I was dead. By the time she and I emerged from the bathroom, the man was long gone. That's the end of this one. Thank you for listening, reading, sharing. We appreciate you. See you next time at Consciously Evolving Enterprises.